So the second dimension is about how we handle information. What do we look at first? For example, if I ask you, what is this? Okay, some people will say it's a pen, it's blue with a silver writing, and there's a black plastic thing, and it measures 15.3 centimeters, and they'll give a lot of detail, okay? And it's very important to be specific about what you see. While other people, these are the operational, the practical people who tend to be very detailed and very practical. If I need a pen now, I know exactly what kind of pen that is. On the other side of the spectrum, you have the more creative people who look at the big picture. They don't look at details. So if I ask, what is this? They'll say, well, it's something to write with. Whether it's a pen, a pencil, a marker, if it's red, blue, yellow, they don't really care. It's something to write with. In the event that I need to write, I have something to write with. So the way you look at reality is actually totally different. So practical detail, they tend to walk around with an imaginary magnifying glass, you know, looking at what's wrong and looking at the details, and they tend to focus on much more short-term situations, while the others tend to work around with binoculars, looking at long-term and looking at things in their global aspect. Okay, so the difference between practical and creative people, they trust experience versus inspiration. This, I feel like doing that. Look at details versus the big picture and the main points. So if I go to my accountant, and I'm very happy that I have a very detailed accountant who pays attention to all the details, and I say to him, should I invest money in this bank, or should I have this saving account or that saving account? He gives me a whole lecture about the financial rules of Belgium, and if you do this, you'll have 2.3%, and if you do this, you will have 1.75%. And he gives me a lot of details. So what's interesting is, number one, I don't understand what he's talking about. Number two, I don't care. What's worse is that he never answers my question. So he's displaying a lot of time and energy, giving me a lot of information, but he's not answering my question. And that's why when you enter in a relationship with somebody, you really have to listen to what they need and what they want, as opposed to putting a lot of energy and displaying a lot of efforts in not answering the question of your customer, so to speak. Oriented on today or tomorrow, focusing on concrete, operational, realistic things. So these are the astronomers. They look at the stars for what they are, the stars, while the others start to look at symbols and astrology and what is your sign, and you know, and trying to. So they draw conclusions based on fact, while the others they go by the intuition. I'm going to listen to my intuition. Maybe today it's going to rain. I feel that it's going to rain. Okay, it's not based on any detail. But the practical people tend to like documentaries, museums, see things that are real, biographies, while the others, they like science fiction and novels and, you know, things that are not particularly real. What is this? What is it? Okay, so you're seeing a triangle. Okay, exactly. That's the difference between people who see separate things, 3 points, while other people see the pattern. So they see the connection between different elements. So some people work with a lot of details, particularly important if you write reports. It's amazing how many people write very lengthy reports without ever talking to the manager or the person who's asking them to do the report on how big should the report be. So they display a lot of energy, a lot of details, while actually upper management often only reads half a page, or they read the top page. So you need to really negotiate with your working partners how much detail they need before you start providing too much. So these are little videotapes that we'll show you this afternoon. So if you do a PowerPoint presentation and you're a very detailed person and you put too much detail, you're going to lose your audience, because people are going to start paying attention to all this. And you can provide a lot of information, but then nobody remembers anything. So it's important with PowerPoint that you can play with a level of detail. In other words, you start your presentation by saying, we're going to talk about these 4 points. If you want more detail, we have more. And if you want some more, we have more. Because you never know who is in front of you. When you do a presentation, you don't know if you have a detailed person or a non-detailed person. So it's important to say, am I giving you too much information? In which case, let's remember that we're only talking about these main points. But sometime in the audience, you also have people who want to know all the little simple, details that need to be added. So it's your flexibility, your ability to adjust to your audience, to adjust to the person in front of you that will allow you to play with this more or less. So the difference between the mother was trying to convince the child that it's a castle, while the other, the child's just, no, it's a cardboard box for the TV. So the potential derailment is the perfectionist. Somebody was talking about being a perfectionist. So this is the dimension where if you are too detailed, you will fall into what we call the paralysis of analysis. In other words, these are the people who review the same document over and over until it's absolutely perfect. But then they don't necessarily meet the objectives because they want things to be too perfect. So excessive focus on error, micromanagement, inability to put things in context. I once coached a woman who was about to lose her job. She was an auditor, and she was about to lose her job because she was doing perfect work, but she was not meeting the expectations of the management. In other words, she was supposed to do 3 audits a month, and she only did 1. It was perfect. Nobody ever questioned the quality of the work that she did, but she was not productive enough. And it was extremely difficult for her to accept that she needed to do more work, less perfect, because she kept on saying, well, you want me to do bad work? No, we don't want you to do bad work, but we don't want that level of perfection. It's not necessary. So people who are overly practical, they want to control everything. They want to know everything. And again, they're afraid of things that are new. Most of the time we're flexible, but when you are under stress, but when you are in conflict, but when you are outside of your comfort zone, you might become overly picky, overly focused on details. The others do the opposite. They become quite unrealistic. Their head is in the cloud. They're quite impractical, inability to implement ideas, very good at generating ideas, but they don't implement anything. And this is what we call wishful thinking, constantly say we could do this, we could do that, and inability to be in the present. So they're very afraid of routine. They want to constantly imagine all kinds of possibilities.